Hey guys, I'm here with my review for the True Catalyst 9x3 set that I have. Now, normally, if you see my out of the box video and the review video, it's reviewing the same stuff. In this case, it is the same leg pads. However, I wasn't planning on getting the glove and blocker, but after I had already done the out of the box on the leg pads, I did get the glove and blocker. So the glove and blocker is going to be in the review. It's a full set review. I didn't bother to do a separate out of the box video on the glove and blocker just because, and I'll talk about it in this review, it's basically the same glove and blocker they've been making for like over a decade at this point. So if you go back and see, I covered the 12.1 and 12.2. I had sets of those. It's just going to be a lot of that same thing. If you just want to look at like an out of the box look of it, go to the out of the box look at those videos, or at those sets. But so for this one, I'm just throwing it in with the review, and I'll just talk about my experience with it. So to get started, let's talk about the glove. This is the 590 Game Ready 9x3 glove. It also comes in 600 or 580. I like 590, so this is the break I like, and Game Ready is what I would get anyway. That being said, and this isn't anything new with them, I find their Game Ready glove is not very Game Ready, especially when compared to other brands' Game Ready gloves. Even my Vaughn, which I still felt like needed a little bit of breaking in, but it felt a lot better out of the box. This thing feels just very chunky, thick, not heavy. Don't confuse that with heavy. That's not what I'm talking about. But it just has this like chunkiness and thickness to it. And it's part of that, I'm talking about how that same design that hasn't changed in a while. And like you can see how thick this cuff is here. And you know, it's well padded and well protected, but it's not really like a comfortable feel on your hand, especially right out of the bat. You know, and like I said, this is supposedly their Game Ready glove. I just feel like this really needs to be broken in a lot. And I've talked to some other people who said they've done all these breaking in methods. There's something called a keeps method. You can look into that if you want, where you like run warm water through the glove. Some people bake it in an oven, even on low heat, nothing crazy. But I didn't do anything like that. I kind of just try to break it in myself, like old-fashioned way. Just kind of I tied it closed. I put a piece of a stick to hold it open. Just when I was sitting here watching TV doing whatever, I would open and close the glove. So I kind of did that to break it in. Didn't do a whole lot. And like I said, for something that's billed as out of Game Ready, I still feel like it needs a lot of work to feel really comfortable when you use it and to close effortlessly. So, you know, like, yeah, I can close it, but I would not call this effortlessly. I mean, I'm squeezing it pretty good, and it's not like a snap closure, where obviously when you're playing and everything's moving at speed, you know, it's not like I snap this closed when I catch. So I found that when I was using this, I was catching it more just open palm, like just catching it in the pocket. And with that being said, though, it actually like caught not that bad. Like the pucks were staying in the pocket even without me like really being able to close it that well. So basically, like, you know, I would kind of trap it in the pocket and then kind of just, you know, close it like after the fact, but it wasn't like a snap closure thing all in one motion. I don't know the feel of it though. Like the break is fine. That I'm not talking about the feel of that, but just the feel of the glove just doesn't feel that great. It's not that comfortable. Again, I do believe with breaking in and over time it would get better. It's just at this day and age, I feel like they could do a better job of making it out of the box, literally Game Ready, not just calling it that. This feels more like other companies like Pro Palms or whatever. And then just going back to what the glove is and how it's designed, it's like I said, it just feels kind of outdated at this point. Like I said, I've used a 12.2, 12.1. It just feels like the same glove. And then even before that, when they were designing for CCM, I just feel like this has been about like a decade at least now, where it's basically the same glove, which if you just really love that glove, you probably don't mind it that much. But in general, and people maybe who haven't been using Lefebvre stuff and are coming from another brand, they might try it on and just, to them it would feel antiquated, outdated type of glove. And mainly, like my main issue with it is just the chunkiness, like I said. And again, not to be confused with weight. It's not that it feels heavy, but I don't know. Like my Vaughn gloves feels more streamlined. It feels like there's less stuff involved in it, and like with the modern materials now that at their disposal, I just feel like they could, get away from just like this chunky style foam, use something that's a little more solid, carbon, whatever they want to use, thin it out a little bit, and just make it feel a little more comfortable instead of just like this big chunk of a glove on your hand. But like I said, there is, Lefebvre loyalists that have been using it for years, and if you ask them, they might say like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it type of thing. So in that case, I would say, they have two lines. They have the 20, or it's going to be called Hazardous now line, and then they have this Catalyst line that was the 12 line. So maybe keep one as like the older style where they don't really change much, and then maybe with the other line, make it a little more modern, a little more streamlined. Because as far as I know, the distinction between the 20 glove or the Hazardous glove and the 12 or Catalyst type glove is just in the graphic that matches the leg pads. I don't think there's really much of any design difference in the glove. So maybe do it that way, where you have one that's more of like the old style, and just keep that going, and then you have one that's more of an updated, modern, streamlined, whatever type of glove. That's what I would like to see, because as it is, like with this glove, while it, like I said, it caught all right, and I didn't have any like major issues with it. It's just not a glove I would choose to use myself as like a full-time glove. I would like my Vaughn obviously is my favorite, but even I like the Bauer Hyperlight better. I like Warrior gloves better. They're like some of the snappiest, easiest to close gloves. So yeah, I'm just kind of like meh about this glove. I'm not really that impressed. I just think it's kind of outdated and really needs an update at this point. So yeah, that was my experience with the glove, using it. I'm gonna move on to the blocker now, and a lot of the things I'm saying about the glove is the same issues with the blocker, right? It's not that there's anything really that wrong with it. There's nothing bad, quality's good, all that stuff. But again, it's just like the same blocker they've been putting out for many years now, and I feel like they could update the design. So like you can see the blocking board, the thickness of it. At this point, I feel like most other blockers are thinner than this. This is probably the thickest blocker board out there, I want to say. I mean, maybe, I don't know. I don't really have a lot of experience with CCM, but like my Vaughn is a little thinner than this. My Bauer Hyperlight was definitely thinner than this. That thing was really thin. So there's that, but then even beyond that, like, I don't know, just in general too, the way like the cuff feels like there's extra material that can be kind of cut off from here and slimmed down. It just, again, it's not a weight thing. It's just like, it's like there's more material than there needs to be. Same thing with the glove and with the blocker. Just kind of streamline it, man. I really think that would make it feel a lot better. And then on top of that, I also felt like the palm on this felt a little tight to me. Specifically like right in here where the thumb is. That is something I think though that it will kind of like stretch out the more you use it. But just out of the box and the little bit I've been using it, it felt more uncomfortable than like my Vaughn blocker, for instance. I did not feel an issue there. The palm on my Vaughn blocker, and I always get just stock palms on these. I don't get any different special sizing on it. I just always use the stock palm. But the stock palm like on my Vaughn felt a lot better than this. Just felt like it fit better. I mean, I'm not an overly large guy. That's my hand. I'm 5'11", so it's not an issue where like my hands shouldn't be fitting in these. And in general, it's not that it doesn't fit overall, but it's just, I don't know, it feels very snug, especially right in here. I feel like I can't fully get my thumb in because it's kind of being blocked off right there with the stitching. Other than that, the palm is a very simple design with this Nash material. Personally, I would kind of prefer some like sure grip stuff in here, and that probably is a custom option if you're going with the PX3. But this is just what you would get, and all this, the leg pads, glove blocker, this is all the stock 9x3. So if you're getting an off-the-shelf stock, any of this stuff, or all of it, this is how it comes. This is the settings you're getting it with. But I just think, I don't know, I think maybe for stock they should just go with the the Sure Grip stuff, because I don't know, I feel like probably more people would want that than just straight up Nash. This is more like, I don't know, old style to just use nothing but Nash in there. The protection, I mean, it's good, like I said, with the glove too, because of all the thick padding, whatever. You can't complain about the protection. I mean, it's a tank as far as that goes. So when you look at the finger protection here, there's absolutely no issues with that. But again, I feel like it could be a little streamlined. And also, I feel like the attachment point of this index finger to this thing up here doesn't really do a whole lot. It doesn't really move it much. It's a little loose. Some other brands like Bauer, for instance, comes to mind. They have like adjustable, the elastic that attaches the palm fingers to the protection here is adjustable, and you can kind of tighten it, loosen it. I feel like this could use that, so you can kind of adjust this more to your own preferences, your own hand, your own finger. But as it is, it's just pieces of elastic that are sewn in. You really can't adjust it. It's not a huge deal, but it was something I noticed where I felt like it could be a little tighter, at least for me. As far as how the stick integrates into here, I had no issues with that. It felt fine. When you go custom, I think there is a way to change the shape of this specific piece of pad here. But again, this is just the stock off-the-shelf 9x3 blocker, and this is how it's going to come with. Like I said, no issues really holding the stick. Poke checking, but I think this is just because of how new this is. Poke checking, when I went to like shoot the stick out or trying to slide my hand up and down the shaft. Yes, I know how that sounds. It kind of stuck in there a little bit, but like as far as just holding the stick in your stance, whatever, like there was no issue with that. And like I said, the little bit of an issue I had with like poke checking or moving my stick, I feel like it's just a matter of how new this was, and that kind of breaks in. But again, that goes with me talking in general about how like the fact that even this needs any kind of breaking in at all, where a lot of other companies are putting out stuff that really doesn't. It comes pretty much broken in out of the box. The wrist flexibility is okay. It's not the absolute best. Like I said, I feel like they could kind of do away with some of this stuff, and it is adjustable, has Velcro adjustments on the wrist cuff, but I still feel like it could be, again, just more streamlined. And then you got this classic Velcro strap here that goes across the wrist. I put that almost about as loose as you can. I feel like it really doesn't do a whole lot, and for me, I have to put it like somewhat or pretty loose to make it feel comfortable. Otherwise, like when I first got this out of the box, this was tighter. This cuff was set tighter on its settings here, and it felt pretty bad. But once I loosened everything up a lot, it felt better. But yeah, just in general, it's just not the most comfortable blocker, but you know, it works, it's effective. Protection is really no complaints about that. Just again, I feel like it's due for an update. The blocker, the glove, literally been like the same thing. And like I had back when they were designing for the CCM and the first eFlex line came out, I had that blocker and I really liked it back then. But again, we were talking about a decade ago or whatever it was. 8 years maybe, I don't know, a while ago now that the eFlex 1 came out. And yeah, at the time it was like, I liked it. It was one of the better blockers. But it's just like, since then, other companies have been coming out with better versions that do a lot of the same things that did, but just felt more comfortable, more streamlined, whatever. And they're just kind of sticking to the same thing. So again, if that's what you really want, then you'll be happy. But if you're coming from something else and you go to this, you might feel like it feels a little outdated. Again, same complaint with the glove as far as that goes. As far as like rebounds with it or how pucks come off it, it's fine. It's nothing crazy. It's not Bauer. It's not. I wouldn't even say it's as good as my V10 blocker, which was surprisingly good at popping the pucks out. It's just whatever. But again, if it's basically the same design as like from however many years ago, then yeah, you're gonna get a pop off the blocker that was happening back then, right? So it's not really a surprise. It's not like a disappointment, but it's just like, I don't know, if you're somebody that really loves the puck flying off the blocker, I don't know. You might just be like, yeah, whatever. It's nothing special. The sidewall of this is something I do really like. If you've watched any of my other videos about blockers, that's something I always harp on. I really like a solid sidewall, and that is definitely something you get with this. So that's something I do like. It's a complete positive with this, is how solid this sidewall is, even though it is like a two-piece sidewall, meaning this is all not integrated as one whole side. You can see where there's a separation here. But yeah, the sidewall is nice and solid, so I do like that. So, moving on to what you guys probably are the most interested in is the leg pads. So, again, we're taking into consideration that this is the stock off-the-shelf pad. Before I even get into detail, I'll say I think if you're going with True, and it's not a bad option to go with, and I'll talk more about it, especially the leg pads. I think there's a lot of good things about the leg pads. But if you're going with True, I highly suggest you do custom and go the PX3 route, because there's things I think the pad would work better with if you change with custom options that you absolutely can change. It's just that this is what they give you off the shelf, and you're stuck with it at retail. So first and foremost, the thing that's like really sinking my experience with these pads for me, is just torpedoing the experience for me. Fast glide material on the sliding surface. I don't like it at all. And I've said this in other videos, and I've used it before, so it really wasn't like unexpected. But again, this is stock. I can't get away from it. That's how it comes. I don't think it slides good, and mainly what I think the problem is the inconsistency. It's inconsistent. It's not that it never performs decent, but it's very ice dependent, which to me doesn't make sense, because I feel like if you're coming out with a specialty sliding material, it should like help overcome bad ice, right? Like that's part of it. It slides better even on bad ice. It shouldn't be even more ice condition dependent than regular Gen Pro. I mean, that's how I feel about it. But I have just, ever since I had my 12.1 set that I had gotten these on, and I got those custom, but at the time it was a new thing, and I figured, well, it must be good. It's their sliding material. And I ordered on my 12.1s. Did not like it. Since then, I've used versions with Gen Pro of their pads, and I've used versions with their weave. I feel like the weave is their best sliding material, so I feel like you need to go custom with these pads, and you need to get the weave on the sliding surface is really the way to go. Because, I mean, there was really a noticeable difference. I really only got to play on like decent ice once with these. The rest of the times was on shittier ice, and look, I'm a beer leaguer. I'm in South Florida, so yeah, our ice here for beer leaguers is for the most part probably going to be not good. Every now and then you might skate on some decent ice. There's a couple rinks that have better ice than others, but mainly the rinks I play at, the ice is maybe mediocre at best, but mostly probably not great. And like I said, I'm just a beer leaguer. I'm not playing on pro ice or anything like that. So out of all the times I used it, one time I would say the ice was pretty good, and the sliding was okay on that. Like it wasn't like great, where I was really impressed by it, but at least I didn't feel like it was hampering me or holding me back or whatever. But for the most part, on the less than ideal ice conditions, I felt like the pads just were sliding really bad, and I felt like it did affect my play. I felt like it was holding me back in certain ways. It's almost like this material grabs the ice under certain conditions, and there's no scientific way for me to test this out or whatever, but just from what I was skating on and experiencing, I feel like the ice that really gives this problems is like dry, choppy ice, specifically dry and kind of like choppy or like gravelly feeling ice. The one skate I had that felt okay with it, the ice was smoother and it had like a little bit of wetness over it. Not like a puddle, nothing like that, but it wasn't like dry. I don't know if that makes sense to you. I'm trying to explain it the best I can. But like the drier the ice, and especially the more gravelly or chopped up it is, it grabs. I feel like this material almost grabs that more than any other material, and it makes sliding a lot more difficult. Now, ultimately, you're still on ice, so it's not like as bad as trying to slide on concrete or something like that. But the best way I can try to explain it in sliding with this material in general is you get exactly what you put into the slide and nothing more. So with like my Vons, with Bauer, a lot of times you'll see someone push with it, and they don't just necessarily stop where their push would normally end, but they have like a little extra glide to it, and that's the special material giving you that extra glide. And like when that stuff first came out, a lot of people actually had to adjust to that. A lot of people were saying like, "Oh, this almost feels too much. I'm oversliding." But then we adjust, and while yes, you may have gotten used to sliding pretty well with just Gen Pro and all before any of this stuff came out. And you might think like, "Oh, why do we even need it?" And I kind of thought that at first too. And especially now that I'm getting older, the one thing I do notice is it's not so much that, oh, I don't have the ability to slide on regular Gen Pro, and I need the sliding surface, special sliding materials for that reason. It's just more that it kind of helps save the energy. And like the older you get, I mean, I don't have the same energy levels I did. I'm 41. I don't have the same energy levels I did when I was even mid-30s, to be honest with you. So I did notice with these, like I felt more tired using them when they were having trouble sliding because I just had to put more into it. So like I said, it's not that it doesn't slide at all, but it's really only giving you only what you put into it, and it's not giving you that little extra slide. And so, at this point I'm pretty used to my Vons, the Bauers I had, stuff that slides better. So like I felt like I was coming up short on some slides with these. And especially in like scrambles, it wasn't so much the big slides because, you're going to put enough of your body weight and force into it that it's going to make less difference with that because you're putting more into it anyway. It's more like the little slides, little shuffles when you're down on like scrambles, on rebound plays, just stuff in tight where you just need that. You just do a little push with your skate. But, with a lot of the other materials that slide better, you've gotten used to with that little push, you get more out of it. With this, it's almost like I barely moved at all when I try to do the little adjustment pushes and scrambles and whatnot. And I felt almost stuck like once I was down. And so I found myself playing almost more like stand-up, not classic old school stand-up, but more stand-up than I would normally do. And me being kind of an older guy, I actually do kind of stand up sometimes. Just I like to switch things up and give shooters a different look. But I was doing even more stand-up with these than normal just because I didn't want to, like I was afraid if I went down, I was kind of going to be stuck, like and not going to be able to recover as well as with my other pads. So I felt safer on my skates than having to go down. And which, on one hand, from like a practice perspective, it kind of was like good to help practice staying on your feet more and beating the play on your feet and not relying on sliding, because I do feel like when you have a pad that slides really well, you might kind of fall back on that and tend to rely on that sliding and maybe not try to stay on your feet as much, which you should always really be trying to stay on your feet as much as possible. So it was kind of good practice using these to keep on my edges more and not just go down and slide around like that. But the reason why I did it was not for that. It was because I did not have confidence in the sliding on this once I was down, that unless it was a very obvious shot and I knew going down was the right play, I felt like if I went down and then I had to adjust after the initial going down part, it wasn't going to be a good situation for me. Now that being said, and going along with the whole like staying on my feet more, the pad in general felt really good on my legs. Like the way once I dialed in the strapping, and like the pad is lighter than their previous pads, and it just like I don't know if it was this thinned out thigh rise, but everything all put together, it felt good on my legs. So skating around with it on my legs, being up on my skates, all that felt good. All that movement felt real good. I really liked it. I was impressed with that. It was just the stuff sliding on the ice. Like I said, other than like the one skate that the ice I would consider for down here was pretty good. And then the sliding was decent. Okay. It was okay, but it wasn't anything I would expect. Like I would expect more from something with a special, sliding material. And I've talked about this in when I had my Bobrovsky pads and the out of the box. I do like this cutout on the thigh rise. I feel like it helps the pads integrate with each other better when you're in your stance, less interference. Even when you're down in your butterfly, less interference. So I do like that. So the other thing I would say that I would change if I was going custom, besides the sliding material, is, and it's not even so much for me because I don't care that much, but when I do these reviews, I try to think of kind of the general goalie population and what most people would like, not necessarily what I specifically like. And since we're in general going towards stiffer pads, and going towards pads that like kick out rebounds more, I've said in other videos, I don't necessarily care, because whether you kick out the rebounds or the pads kill the rebounds, there's pros and cons to both. You can kill the rebound and cover it, or you can kill the rebound and leave it for somebody right there. You can kick out the rebound past danger, or you can kick out the rebound right to a guy from the other team also. So, whereas maybe you could have, covered it and stopped play if it didn't kick out. So for me, there's pros and cons to either way. I don't think one, and I also think a lot of it also depends on the situation on the ice, like power play, or what kind of game the other team plays, if they have a lot of traffic in front, if they shoot from the outside a lot, whatever. There's a lot of variations that go into it. I don't think it's as cut and dry as just saying kicking the rebounds is inherently better all the time. But with that being said, I know a lot of people prefer that. And the fact that this is a very stiff pad, I'm surprised that the stock retail version comes with the soft face. So the face of this pad is pretty squishy. I was like surprised even before I even used it, how like squishy it is. And I did notice that the rebounds weren't anything great coming off it. There were some shots, especially some weaker shots, that like, I don't know, it put the puck in almost like a no man's land, where almost in between. Like, it's not that it really killed it enough for me to stop it or to cover it, but it also didn't kick it out enough to make it go past danger. And it put it like, I don't know, I want to say like 5 feet in front of me, where it's just out of where I can really outstretch and grab it, but it's keeping it in a very dangerous spot. So, I don't know. I feel like if you're going to go ahead and go with this style of pad, being so stiff and everything, you probably, I mean, it is an option going custom, like I said, but I would say at retail, more people would probably want the harder face and not the softer, squishy face. That's just my guess. But that is something also I figured I would change if I was going custom with this, the PX line. I would put weave on the sliding surface, and I would just go with the hard face instead of the soft face of the pad. So like sticking with how stiff this is, I in general prefer a soft, flexible pad, older style pad, which is why I get my custom Vaughns. But that being said, there are certain ways I can use a stiff pad. It just has to be built a certain way, certain sizing changes to it. So this everything stock on these comes in a +2. So it's 30 whatever plus, and it's always +2. So 33 is what's good for me to the knee as far as Lefebvre sizing. And then I had to go with the +2. I couldn't go with +1. I really think +1.5 is probably about the sweet spot for me. That's when I did get my 12.1s custom. I did get 33 plus 1.5. But those were a lot more flexible than these. But these being as stiff as they are, and absolutely no bend up top, the +2 was all right. And in general, it's not that the pad was too big for me. It's just that me specifically, when I'm using a pad this stiff, I need to have a smaller thigh rise to make it feel comfortable for me. And I would go down a hair with these if I was going custom. So I would probably go with the 33 plus 1.5. When it comes, like I said, coming stock, it doesn't offer those variations. It's all just +2. So it wasn't a lot of times, there were a couple times where when I went down, because I have a narrow butterfly, and since these are pretty straight and stiff, they stuck too far straight out, and it kind of interfered with my stick, left my 5-hole more open. Not that I was really getting scored a lot on the 5-hole, but it just wasn't much coverage with the actual pad there. It was just like my knees being squeezed together with the knee pads, or my stick being there that was covering it. So I personally would prefer either a smaller thigh rise or the other way I could possibly go with this, and it's why I liked the Optic 3 pads. If this was angled more at the knee here, angled more back, or had more of a curve up top, and I think I kind of talked about this in the out of the box. So this does have some bit of an angle and curve to it. It's just for me personally, it's not enough. So if you go back and look at my Optic 3 videos, or you just look at a picture of the Brian's Optic 3, it has a pretty stark angle here where it shoots back up this way from the knee. And what that helped with was when I was down in the butterfly, it angled that top part back and helped close off the 5-hole better, and it didn't stick straight out as much as these do. Now this is all just something personal, issues with my own biomechanical limitations that I have. It's not something that's like just something wrong with the pad. It's just what I'm telling you didn't quite work for me. But that's just a me thing. So if you're okay with a stiff pad that has this shape to it, you're just disregarding what I just said about that. It has nothing to do with you. There are some people I know definitely that watch my videos specifically because they're similar to me. They have similar hip issues, or they play the similar style to me. They're a little older, kind of like me. And they watch my reviews specifically to see how I like it, because it reflects better of how they would feel about the pad, since we play a similar game. We're more similar type goalies. But for a lot of guys out there, what I just said is not going to be an issue. And so going back to in general with the pads, I do think it's a very good pad. And like I spent a lot of time talking about that whole sliding thing, because for me that was the biggest downside of these pads. But if you go custom and you get the weave, the slide's good, and you're comfortable with the shape of this pad, I think it's a really good pad, and I understand why a lot of guys use it. A lot of NHL guys use it. Like I said, it just feels really good. If you get that sliding to work for you, then that's a complete non-issue. I really like the boot on these two. I talked about this in the out of the box. I feel like this is one of the more flexible, if not the most flexible stock boot I've ever seen on a pad. And so it sits in a nice like L shape, flat. It's not angled, which is what I really like. And it just helps the pad feel more comfortable. I don't like the feel of a stiff or angled boot. It really helps in like RVH. Any kind of post integration with these pads was really good. Had absolutely no issues with that. Really like the way that felt, like I said, being RVH or even VH, whatever. Any kind of post integration was really good with these pads, and I felt very comfortable with it. The strapping, I had to make a little adjustments. I alluded to that earlier. I'm going to talk about that now. So in my out of the box, if you watch that and you remember, there was a nylon strap that came out of the bottom of the knee here, and it came across and attached here. And I speculated even then that I probably wasn't going to need it, and I was right. So my first skate, I had kept it on just because I want to give it a try, but I quickly realized it just wasn't going to work. It was overkill like I thought it would be, and taking it off was the right move for me. I mean, hey, if you like it, keep it on by all means. But taking it off was the right move for me. Beyond that, I also needed to loosen up the strapping, specifically the FRS strapping. And I don't know what's going on with these pad manufacturers, because I talked about this with Vaughn, how their calf strapping came ridiculously short, and it was a custom order anyway, but I had to order longer calf straps. And a lot of other people I talked to had the same problem with Vaughn and their calf straps. Well, now with Fave and True, it's kind of a similar thing with their FRS straps. So these are the stock ones, but I have them pretty loose. Like I have them set to almost the loosest they can be adjusted to, just so it'll fit loose enough when I bring them across to attach in the attachment point over here. Because like my first skate or two, it didn't feel terrible, but it didn't feel as comfortable as once I loosened it and tried it that way. So for me personally, I definitely feel like you shouldn't wear these super, super tight. But they don't give you a lot of extra length on these to really achieve that. And, again, I've said this before, talking about other short calf straps. I have skinny legs. So if I'm having this kind of issue, like if you're a bigger guy, bigger calves, I don't know how that's going to work for you, because I don't even think you're going to be able to loosen it up enough to make it work. And guy I know who is a bigger guy, he went custom with PX3, and he ordered the longer straps for himself to make it work. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to use the stock ones. So if you are going to go custom, I would also put in for longer FRS straps. But other than the length of that, I do like the FRS system. I mean, I've used it before. This isn't the first time I've used it. I do think it is a good strapping system and attachment point for the pad for your leg. It's the main anchor for the pad to your leg, and I think it's effective. And I think it's, once you get, again, the strapping loose enough. I mean, I'm not saying we're ridiculously loose, but you just don't want it like suffocating your leg. Once you get the strapping of the right length, I think it's a really good, strapping system on this pad. Something I kind of forgot to talk about in the out of the box video, but I also don't think it really does anything at this point, is this calf pillow. It's so tiny. I mean, it's technically there. There is one, but what it's doing, not really anything. And I talked about this with my Vaughn pads. Like, they don't even do the calf pillow anymore. I feel like that was kind of a trend for a while, and now, I don't know, companies are going away from it. I don't know if they just decided that it's not doing much in general, but even if it was going to do something, the size of this one wouldn't, because it's so small. It really doesn't come into play, but it does technically have the calf pillow here. But yeah, I forgot to even mention that at all on the out of the box thing. Another kind of thing, since we're talking about like the strapping and being short, this is not adjustable, this nylon one, and I find that I'm able to get it enough to attach, but I mean, I have it attached pretty much right at the tip here. So I could go for this being a little longer, and like I said, there's really no way to adjust it, but I don't know, maybe if you go custom, that is something you can request to also have this strap longer. But yeah, I don't know what's going on in general with these pads. Like I said, I had issues with my Vaughn, with the V9, with the V10, now this, and I'm hearing it from other people. I don't know why they're like cutting the calf stuff so short. But anyway, something to be aware of if you're going stock, but if you're going custom, it can all these issues can be fixed going custom, which is why I said at the beginning I would highly recommend going custom if you're going to go true, because you can really dial it in, and I think you can make a really great pad, because all the issues I have with this pad is stuff that can be fixed going custom. I talked about in the out of the box video about this knee stack, and how while it's not an integrated knee stack like a lot of companies are going to, it's still pretty solid. And I had no problems with like the knee landing knee stack or anything when I played. Didn't feel like loose or anything, so that felt good. Trying to think if there's anything I'm forgetting as far as like how it performed for me. Like I said, other than the stupid sliding material that comes with it, I liked almost everything else about it. And like I said, I can really understand why this is a very popular pad. And as opposed to the glove and blocker, I can't, being that I've been using the 12.1, 12.2, and now this, I can see the evolution of this, right? The 12.1 was pretty much just the E-Flex 4 rebranded under Lefebvre since they separated from CCM. The 12.2 was a little bit of a different pad, but I still felt like it wasn't enough. I felt like they could do more, and especially like thinning it out or whatever. And that's what they did with this one. Like, they did this little thigh rise notch, which is a small thing, but I think it makes a big difference. But the pad in general also just feels more thinned out, feels a little lighter. And the fact that, normally I use a bootstrap, the fact that this didn't have a bootstrap really wasn't an issue for me. There was never a time where I was using it where I was like, I really need the bootstrap. That being said, I'll still always prefer to have one if I can on a pad, but these ones, I don't need it. If I was going custom, I would get it, and I just, I put it loose because it's only like a really, I talked about this in the out of the box video, it's like a do not go beyond this point kind of thing, where I don't want my foot to come off the pad more than a certain thing, and I put it to that length, but I don't put it tight or anything. For like 95% of the time, it's not doing anything for me. Only extreme situations where I'm really stretching my leg out might it come into play. But with these, I I didn't miss it at all. So the lack of a bootstrap coming stock on these, I don't think is an issue. If you're really that married to the bootstrap, again, you go custom, do whatever you want. And the toe ties, you know, I prefer in general the Kova toe ties, third-party toe ties. These are the ones this comes with stock. It's not bad. Other than my Kovas, this would probably be my second favorite toe ties, the Pro Laces that it comes with. Was comfortable, you know, has good enough give, but it also has the actual skate lace connection point from the skate to the pad. So it's not, you know, it's kind of a hybrid style. It's not pure bungee. It's not pure skate lace. A little mix of the two. So yeah, like I said, really, you know, I felt like that whole sliding material thing just kind of ruined the experience for me. But other than that, I really, you know, I had a pretty good experience using the pad. Anything else other than the sliding felt really good for me. And like I said, I keep harping on it. It's an easy fix if you go custom. Go custom if you're going to go true. If you can. Like, I understand not everyone can. And in that case, then I might steer you away from true, to be honest. That being said, there is kind of a hack to get away from that sliding surface if you're going stock. The black pad. So the pads come in stock, they have it black, and then everything else is like a white base with this parts are colored, so like red, or it comes with blue. I think it comes with like white, and then these are black. But what I'm talking about is they sell a stock version where it's all black. It's like blacked out pad. That one, you don't get this stupid fast glide material, because the fast glide material only comes in white. So the black one comes with just regular Gen Pro on it. And that actually does slide better than this. So if you're going stock and you're able to, and you don't mind going just with an all black pad, that's a way you can go stock and get away from the fast glide material. But other than that, any of the other stock ones that come white with the other colors mixed in with it, you're going to get that fast glide. So, like I said, again, harping on this point, if you at all can, go custom, dial the pads in, and I think you'd be very happy. I think they're really good design pads. Craftsmanship, when you go custom, craftsmanship, it's North American made. These are overseas made. That being said, I didn't notice anything bad with the craftsmanship. Again, I didn't use it for that long. You know, this was a quick little trial period with these, and then I'm going to sell them. But like, there was nothing that stood out. Nothing bad happened with the craftsmanship, quality, all that stuff. So say what you want about overseas made gear. In the little bit of time I used these and had them, I found no issue with them. But again, you go custom, it's North American made. So really, I just urge you again, go custom if you can with these. Otherwise, if you can only do stock, there might be better options than these out there. But in general, I am impressed with the leg pads. Just real quickly, going back to Glove and Blocker. I just really wish they would update it personally. Like I said, I know there's some loyalists that like the fact that they don't change anything with the Glove and Blocker. I think they really need to, though. And like I said, they could even do it where on one line they update it, on one line they keep it the old school style, whatever. But I think they need to offer at least some other option or something with the Glove and Blocker to update it a little bit. So yeah, that's basically the review, I guess. I can't really think of anything else to say. So, yep, that's this video, and I'll see you in the next one.